Peru, the place where you can discover the hidden treasures and have memorable experiences. I'm Noreen Kazi, and again, I'd like to first thank you all for your time today to learn a little bit more about Peru. We're doing our webinar today in partnership with Travcoa. Kathy, it's an honor to have you on the line today.
Thank you, and I'm looking forward to presenting today.
Excellent. Well, for all of you that are on the line this morning and afternoon, I just wanted to quickly give you a run of show for today's webinar. I'm initially going to kick things off on behalf of Prom Peru with a destination overview, just painting a general picture on the destination. And then I'll transition it over to Kathy, who will speak specifically to Travcoa and some of the excellent programs and experiences that they have that are operating in Peru. And lastly, we'll close with Q&A. So all you'll need to do is type your questions either through the duration of the presentation or at the end of our webinar. And Kathy and I will do our best to answer those questions in the allotted time. Today's webinar should roughly last about 40 to 45 minutes at most, and we appreciate your time and attention. So to get things started, I'm going to once again introduce myself. I'm Noreen Kazi. It's better to see me in a picture than hear my voice. I work for a destination marketing agency in New York City called Development Counselors International. And we represent tourism boards from around the world, representing them as their industry face in the North American market. In this case, I'm the U.S. Travel Trade Manager for Prom Peru, which is the tourism board of Peru. Now, moving into the geography overview of the destination, as you see on this slide, the destination has three very different geographies. You have the coastline, the highlands, and the rainforest. And a lot of people are surprised because Peru actually has quite a large landmass that's dedicated to rainforest. So you're able to play different experiences in the rainforest, being 60% of the country, then 28% highlands, which is where Machu Picchu falls between rainforest and highlands in some circumstances. And then you have the beautiful coastline where you have beautiful coastal weather year-round. So we have those three geographies, which leads to multiple experiences that can be had in those three geographies. Peru has a population of 29 million people. The official language spoken is Spanish, though other native languages such as Quechua and Aymara are spoken by some of the native communities that live in the highlands and the rainforest. English is widely spoken in all tourist areas, so when you're sending clients there, there shouldn't be a concern about communications challenges or barriers. Certainly all of the hotel staff will speak English. As you're going and discovering different tourism attractions, you will find English speakers throughout the destination. The currency is the nuevo sol. It's about 2.5 soles to the dollar. So your dollar will go far. And I always joke, if you're an avid shopper like I am, you will be very, very happy in Peru to spend those dollars. Another key thing to note is that visas are not required for U.S. passport holders and for North American passport for Canadian and U.S. passport holders. And to get to Peru, there's a great advantage in that it's in Central Standard Time, so you don't suffer from jet lag when you're traveling there. On this slide, you see the various departure points into Lima from North America. The most recently added flight is out of Dallas-Fort Worth that was added last year in November. So they have direct service out of Dallas. They also added some service out of Fort Lauderdale in November of last year. So certainly a well-connected destination serviced by all major carriers such as American Airlines, United, Delta. But of course, they're also very nicely serviced by LAN, which is often our preferred partner when we're working to get people into Lima. As far as weather in Peru, the destination is a year-round destination. We always say, it depends on what you're looking to experience, which is going to lend to what time of year you should visit. If you're wanting to go to the coast, that destination is year-round. It'll be beautiful. If you're going to the north, it's a little bit drier. If you're going in the desert, obviously that can be visited year-round. Lima gets a little bit gray in their winter, which is our summer. It's an opposite climate. But you will have a little bit of gray skies, but nothing that will impede on your daily activities. Moving into the highlands, however, you do see multiple climates over the course of the day. Because you are in the mountains, the mornings and the evenings are quite chilly. So we always recommend people to carry a sweater or a shawl, something to keep you warm in the cooler parts of the day. And then during the day, the sun does get quite hot. So we do obviously recommend to dress in layers throughout the day, because you will be taking on and off pieces of clothing as the temperature changes. And then as you move into the Amazon rainforest, it really depends on what you're looking to experience. If you're going on a river cruise and you really want to do a lot of water-based experiences, it might be beneficial for you to go to Peru or the Amazon region in the wet season, where the water levels are higher. You can get into different parts of the Amazon that you may not be able to access by foot. Or if you're really looking to go out and hike and explore some of those terra firma experiences in the Amazon, you certainly want to consider and plan your trip in the dry season. So that said, it really depends on what your clients are looking to do, and then identifying the best time to send them there according to those experiences. I would be remiss if I didn't touch on altitude levels today. You know, often people say, oh, am I going to be affected by altitude sickness? And to be honest, it doesn't affect everyone. There are a couple of things that you can do to prevent altitude sickness, and I'll give you guys a couple of the tips that we share. One is ultimately it comes down to how you plan an itinerary. As you see on this slide, you see Cusco, which is your point of entry to go to Machu Picchu, is at approximately 10,500 feet. So for those of you skiers that have had to deal with altitude sickness, you really need to take it easy, because you're flying from Lima to Cusco from sea level to 10,000 feet, and you need to give your body time to adjust to this change in altitude. And the way that we have programs do that is that people will either travel to the Sacred Valley at 8,800 feet and take a couple of days there to adjust and sightsee and see some great things, or go to the Amazon region, which is approximately at that same altitude, depending on the client's interests. But taking those days to adjust and explore, then going down in altitude to Machu Picchu, you won't have a difficult time navigating the citadel and the sites that are at the Machu Picchu ruins. And then you can come back on your way out and explore Cusco once you're fully adjusted to the altitude. Once you're in Cusco and you have the time, you could, of course, go to the beautiful region of Puno, which is the highest point in Peru, or you can visit Coca Canyon to see the flying condor. So really, that first 3 days that you're in an altitude region, it's really important to take the time to acclimatize to the altitude. A couple of other remedies that we recommend. We often recommend a high-carb diet. Part of Peru is known and famous for the various varieties of potatoes that we have. So a high-carb diet will help keep those energy levels up. Staying hydrated, as tempting as that pisco sour is, when you land in Lima or when you arrive in Cusco, alcohol dehydrates you. Therefore, you should drink a lot of water in those first few days in an altitude region. Another thing that we have available throughout our properties, also with guides that are traveling, is coca tea, which is a natural remedy that helps stabilize your energy levels so that you don't overexert yourself with a limited oxygen or less oxygen intake than you're used to. So the coca tea is certainly something that you should definitely take advantage of while you're in those regions. And then last but not least, our hotels have started to incorporate oxygen pumping into the air conditioning vents to help your body stabilize in an altitude region. So they'll either have oxygen pumped through your air conditioner vents. Other hotels will have oxygen available at the front desk if you start feeling the symptoms of altitude sickness, which is usually a headache, feeling dizzy, feeling a little bit nauseous, or having some stomach pain. So that's, if you have any of those symptoms in an altitude, it's more than likely that you are having some of those symptoms, and you can certainly, that's an indication that you should take the time, rest, drink a lot of water, do all those things that I just mentioned to make sure that you're healthy and active. So now we move into the destination portion of my presentation. What you see here before you is Lima. Lima is one of the most well-protected cities in the Americas. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So for that history buff, that archaeology buff, Lima as a city is really interesting to explore on a city tour. You can see some of these balconies. You can visit private haciendas. You can have beautiful meals while watching the change of guards. It really is a special city center that's definitely worth exploring. It's also come to the forefront as one of the top culinary capitals of the Americas. Year on year, our chefs are winning awards throughout international culinary competitions, at the festivals that they're hosting. In the U.S. as well as in South America, our chefs are doing interesting things. And what they do is that what makes them unique is that, one, they're able to source from the 3 geographies that I mentioned earlier. So looking at, sourcing some fresh fish from the coast, the wide variety of potatoes that you can source. Like, we have over 3,000 varieties of potatoes across Peru. If you don't believe me, you can go to the Museum of Potatoes in Lima, which is definitely worth the visit. But then they also have the ability to source from the Amazon. So they're able to source fish from the Amazon River. They're able to source berries and fruits that are basically native to Peru and can't be sampled anywhere else in the world. And as a result of that, the chefs that we have are creating not only Peruvian cuisine, but they're creating a mixture, a melting pot of culinary items where they're taking the influence from Japanese and doing sashimi in a unique and different way, or doing Chinese fried rice in a different way with Peruvian ingredients. And it really is something amazing to experience. Just south of Lima is the region of Paracas, which is our desert region. For that adventurer, this is a great region to go and explore. You can go dune buggy riding. You can go sandboarding. You can actually sandboard the tallest dune in the world. You can also, for those that are into getting close to nature or seeing animals in their natural habitat, there's an island called the Ballestas Islands, which is off of a private pier in Paracas that you can get on a boat and just explore these sea lions. There's Humboldt penguins, there's flamingos, there's different varieties of birds that you can see. And these sea lions actually come here for their mating season, and they'll stay there for about 6 to 7 months and wait till their babies are born, and then they swim, they leave for their migration. But it is quite cool to watch them as they sit on the coastline and as they grow their families. While you're in that region of Peru, you can also visit the Nazca lines. These are giant hieroglyphs that are in the sand that were left behind by a population called the Nazca, or a community called the Nazcas. These are pre-Incan civilizations that have left offerings to the gods in the sand. And you can only see these Nazca lines by overflight. You see here you have the hummingbird, they have a monkey, there's a spider, there's a kind of a candelabro that looks like a cactus. There's a lot of different lines that you can see as you do this tour, and certainly one that's worth experiencing. Now we move to the center region of Peru, into the Andes. What you see here, of course, is the reason why most people and all people want to go to Peru, is the lovely Machu Picchu. To get to Machu Picchu, you go to the gateway, which I mentioned earlier is Cusco. Cusco is a beautiful city, has great nightlife, great cuisine similar to Lima. But really what makes it special is its mix of colonial and ancient Incan architecture. It's quite spectacular as you walk through the streets, and you actually see buildings that are actually built upon Incan walls. So you see the contrast of Incan and colonial, and you see how that city has been developed with that in mind. As I mentioned, to adjust to the altitude, once you fly into Cusco, the Sacred Valley is about a 40-minute drive from Cusco Airport. And here, while you're adjusting to the altitude, there are a number of outdoor activities that you can do, ranging from horseback riding to watching paso horse performances. But you can also go to Ollantaytambo, which is an Incan ruin in the town of Ollantaytambo, but you can also walk around their city center, get to know some of the locals that are also curious to see and share their culture with you. They'll often pose for a photo. They'll show you some of the weavings and textiles that they're making. So it's certainly worth exploring the town of Ollantaytambo. Also, while you're in the Sacred Valley, a visit to Pisac, which is a popular open-air market. in close to Sacred Valley. It's a great place to get souvenirs for friends and family, learn about the weaving techniques and the different types of yarn that we have. In addition to our history of potatoes, you can also learn about the wide varieties of corn that we have. Some really big pieces of corn which have actually had popped, and you can have giant popcorn, to small little blue corn. You know, it's quite interesting to see how many different types of corn they have. Moving furthest east to the region of Puno, this is where I mentioned is the highest point in Peru, and it's actually a very interesting region because you have, you know, communities like that you see pictured here that are living in synergy with the lake. Puno is also known as the folkloric capital of Peru. Puno has basically festivals year-round, so you're more than likely at any point of the year where you're visiting, you will have somewhere in one of the towns or one of the neighborhoods, they will have a festival going on for you to be able to experience the culture firsthand. The most popular one is called La Candelaria, and that festival takes place in February every year, and it's about 6 weeks of dance competitions, colorful costumes, and you can actually join in on some of these celebrations going on in the streets. As I mentioned briefly, Puno is home to the highest navigable lake in the world, which is Lake Titicaca. And at Lake Titicaca, there's these islands called the Uros Islands, and native communities actually live on these islands that are made out of totora reed boats, which is a type of weed that grows in the water. They dry it out and it actually floats. And you can actually stay for the day and learn about their traditions. It's really quite a sight to see, and one of the most mysterious and mystical places in Peru. The deepest canyon on Earth is the Colca Canyon, as pictured on this slide. The Colca Canyon is twice as deep as the Grand Canyon, and it's the best place to see the bird with the largest wingspan in the world, which is the condor. This region's also great for those adventurers that are into parasailing or paragliding, that are into mountain biking, hiking. It's very famous for whitewater rafting at multiple levels. So in addition to the animal and the nature and the relaxing rejuvenation angle, there certainly is an opportunity to get out and active. Moving to the southern Amazon, this is really the part of Peru where you can see or experience the terra firma experiences of the destination. The terra firma being that you can hike either on land or hike through the canopy walks as you see pictured here. This region of Peru is most well known for its bird watching. It's a bird watching haven for any of those of you that have clients that are into bird watching. You can actually see birds that are endemic to Peru and can't be seen anywhere else in the world, and that ranges from hummingbirds to the national bird, which is the cock of the rock, to some of the parrots that are at Macaulay Click. Really, really diverse in bird life. But in addition to bird life, and you're into flowers, if you're into the flora side of things, there are beautiful orchid trails that you can walk in the southern Amazon. Moving to the north, as you see here, this is the Amazon River. Peru is home to the Amazon River Basin, which not a lot of people are aware of, but we do have river cruises that operate in the northern Amazon of Peru, where you can actually river cruise into some of our natural sanctuaries, such as the Bacayasa Media Reserve, and get up close and personal to some of the wildlife that's there, in addition to some of the excursions and experiences that you can have aboard a river cruise in Peru. You can see animals ranging from, if you're lucky, the jaguar. There's pink river dolphins. You can go piranha fishing. You can go kayaking. There's a lot of different animal-based and active-based experiences that one can have on a river cruise. But then you can also get close to some of the native communities that live in the Amazon and learn about their traditions. And last but not least, I had to touch on the northern part of Peru, which is known as the Moche route. This civilization is a pre-Incan civilization, similar to that of the Nazcas that I mentioned briefly earlier. This civilization's actually, or this area of Peru is becoming very popular as of late One, because they discovered about 10 to 15 different ruins that tie to the civilization, and some of these ruins, include mummies. It includes Chan Chan, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. There's a tomb that was discovered of Señor de Zipan, which predates Tutankhamun in Egypt. So they had a lot of history that's just fascinating archaeologists and history buffs from around the world. And not only that, but it's also a great region to explore the beaches and the seafood and some of the northern cuisine that was made or influenced by the coast. Before I close, I wanted to share with you a resource that we've created as a tourism board. We have a website called peruagent.com. Not only does this have information on news related to Peru, special deals that we're offering, videos, any resources ranging from desk reference guides to brochure requests to images, but most importantly, it also houses our specialist course and our training courses. For those of you that are not Peru specialists yet, I encourage you to visit peruagent.com. It's a 4-module course which you can complete and become certified in. That will list you as a preferred Peru specialist on our website. It will also give you access to our master's course, which we're adding courses to in addition over the course of the year. We have an incentive program that's tied to this based on sales and bookings. We do a quarterly sales drawing offering a fam trip to Peru, and there's also some monetary incentives based on the highest seller in any given month. So before I close, I just wanted to remind you, Peru is a destination that's obviously going to be known for Machu Picchu, and it should be. Just wanted you to be aware that as you talk to clients, there's so much more to offer your clients, from the nature offering to the adventure offering, to anybody that's into river cruising. The river cruises are very, very special. And if you want to get up and close and personal with some of the cultures and communities that live in Peru, that's certainly always an option as well. So don't rule out some of the regions that I shared with you today. And with that, I thank you. I'm going to hand it over to Kathy for her to touch more specifically on some of the great things they're doing in Peru. So Kathy, I'm going to switch over to you.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you very much. And you're going to share the controls for me?
Yep.
And I'll be just a moment here. Perfect. And hopefully everyone can see my screen now. So again, I think you've got just a wonderful overview now for Peru. It'll make my job easier to take you on a virtual journey, on a Travcoa journey through Peru. Before I get started, I just again wanted to introduce myself. Many of you have met me over the years or on webinars, but I oversee our business development at Travcoa, as well as our product innovation. Always looking forward and seeing where we're going to be going in the future and what we'll be developing. My email contact details are there, and after this webinar I will also follow up with everyone that participated with some additional information. Just a quick snapshot on Travcoa, just as a reminder, we are this year celebrating 60 years of luxury travel, and in fact Peru has been in our portfolio for almost as long as we've been alive. Our legacy started in 1954, and again we've opened the world to many travelers to places all around the world, but Peru is one of our most favorite. You can find our Peru offerings in our dream books, both the black brochure, which is our small group escorted journeys, and on the silver side, which is our private journeys, which I'll discuss today. And just a really quick snapshot, the difference between escorted and private. Escorted, of course, small groups, guaranteed departures, they're all inclusive, and then lots of nice things that are very special to a Travcoa journey. The dine-arounds, which I'll talk about in a moment, travel directors, our guides, the kind of accommodation we use, the excursions that we include, there's no options to buy. And again, our coaches that we use, there's a window seat for everyone, so we don't cram everyone into one bus. And again, we go around the world. Our travel directors, this one here, Marta, they're amazing. They are like Pied Pipers, and they really are a big asset to our itinerary, like the concierge traveling with the group. And the dine-around, I would like to highlight this especially with Lima. Guests can dine anywhere they want, outside of the hotel, in the hotel. If they leave the hotel, they can choose any restaurant they want. And I put a highlight here to Astrid and Gaston because actually Chef Gaston Arcurio is now a celebrity chef known worldwide and has opened up restaurants everywhere, started in Lima. So you can actually go to the restaurant in Lima, order whatever you want, pay the bill, and once you come back, bring the bill to the travel director who files it with our office, and when your client returns home, they're reimbursed for everything that they spent on their food other than alcohol and caviar, but everything's included. So this is an example of one of those great restaurants that they can sample when they're in Lima. And also the types of accommodations, very high-end, and this itinerary we'll be talking about a lot. We work with Belmont Properties. And our expert local guides, again, who are really imparting the knowledge of the destination and the excursions that we do to really introduce you to the authenticity and culture of the country. And then the private journeys difference is these will be the FIT itineraries. They're privately guided, private car and driver, but same quality of local guides, accommodation, excursions. And nice thing is we have our volume buying power because we do groups in the region, so we actually can pass that advantage on most apart any day. They're flexible, and they can be for one person, they can be for 10 people, they could be for 20 people. It could be for a family, it could be whatever you want it to be, but they're just pre-designed itineraries that can be modified. And then lastly, we'll do custom journeys. So again, to Peru, whether it's a celebration, a honeymoon, a family trip, we can custom design the itinerary for you, and we can also quote it in net as well. And you can tell us what kind of markup you want in it. So let me talk about Travcoa's Peru, because again, I love this country. It has a special place in my heart. So I'm so thrilled to be able to talk about Travcoa's Peru today. Firstly, we have a variety of different offerings. So we have one escorted journey, which I'm going to walk you through today here in Bingham's Hidden Peru. We have 3 private journeys for those that want to travel independently and be a little bit more flexible. And then we have some small ship cruise journeys. As you heard, Noreen was talking about the Amazon. We actually have 3 different types of offerings on the Amazon. And then, of course, we'll do custom journeys throughout Peru up into the northern regions. We can combine all of the regions through a private jet program around Peru. So lots of ways to explore the country. So I'm going to walk you virtually through our here in Bingham's Hidden Peru. This is one of our most popular escorted journeys. It's a 9-day program. Basically, there's 4 departures, and you have your air component, intra-tour air, and your ground. So combined, you're basically talking around $6,500, starting and ending in Lima. And again, you're using wonderful hotels. You've got Belmont Properties, Dine Around, all the highlights of a Travcoa escorted journey, with the addition of being in a beautiful country like Peru. So we start off when we arrive into Lima the first day. Everyone is met at the airport privately, transferred in the private car to the Miraflores Park Hotel. And again, this is a gorgeous property and one of the Belmont properties. So you've got an ocean view, you've got time to relax, and again, there's nothing happening that day other than just having your relaxing evening. Now, the following day, you're going to have an opportunity to explore Lima. And again, it was founded in 1535 by Spanish conquistador Francisco Pizarro, and it is a wonderful city to start your Peru adventure in. And the first stop that we make is at the Larco Herrera Museum. Now you can see here 2 images. The one thing about this is that the museum has the largest private collection of Peruvian pre-Columbian art, with over 45,000 different objects, ceramics, tiles, textiles, gold, silver. But it also, on the left, you can see the image, has it's a very famous, and I have to say when I first saw this exhibit myself, I was kind of shocked, but it's a risque collection of Moche Dynasty erotic pottery. So it's quite a collection. It's a fascinating museum. And then from there, you're going to continue the tour visiting the San Francisco Monastery. It's a beautiful colonial masterpiece of architecture done in more of a Moorish style. And then we'll also have lunch at one of it's basically the best preserved colonial mansion in America, and that's the Casa Aliaga. And so this is, again, we have a wonderful, it's the 17 generations have lived here since it was built in 1535, and it's still operated it's a private household for the Aliaga family. So it's very much of a privilege for us to have our lunches there. And then afterwards, we're going to visit the Museum Pedro de Osma, And again, they have this one, it's basically a European palace-style museum, and it's a private collection that you'll be seeing from the Osma family. And it's basically Peruvian art from the 16th to the 19th century. So again, a great way to see the city. And then that evening, we'll come back to the hotel, and we'll actually have our welcome cocktail and dinner that night. The following day is the day we head off into what everybody wants to see. So we're going to basically take a 1-hour flight from Lima up to Cusco. Once we arrive in Cusco, we actually transfer directly, approximately 40 minutes to an hour, to the Urubamba Valley, which is also known as the Sacred Valley of the Incas. Just a spectacular area. The elevation, as Noreen said, is much lower here, and this is where you go to actually get more acclimated before we make our way into the higher elevations. So our first stop will, well, actually our accommodation will be, the first will be the Rio Sagrado, which is again a Belmont property, so you'll have time to relax. But as we're coming into the valley, we'll actually stop, because this will be on a Sunday, and we're going to visit the Sunday market in Chinchero. And again, you can see all of the different produce and some of the weaving you can pick up. And then from there, we'll also head over to the Traditional Textile Center, where we can actually enjoy a private weaving demonstration and get a chance to see some of the famous wool weaves from llamas and alpacas and so forth. They also have vicuñas and guanacos. So it's really fascinating to see, as you can see, the colors. And that's one of the things I loved about Peru was just the textiles, just so colorful. And here's an image. This is one of the communities that we go to. The following day, we actually spend a morning in the Quechua community of Huilac. And it's a community that, through our partners, we've actually supported as Travcoa and given back to the community over the years. But we participate in some activities with the villagers. So again, you get to see them actually doing the weaving. We'll meet with the children in the school. This is a part of the village community, so you can see how they're living. You can actually go in and talk to the community. It's really a fascinating opportunity to get high up into the mountains and actually see how they live. And afterwards, we'll continue to Ollantaytambo, and these ruins are basically the best surviving example of Inca city planning, and they have narrow cobblestone streets. You can see the terraces, and we'll have some time to explore this historical site before going back to our hotel and relaxing. Now, the following day, we'll finally catch our glimpse of the lost city of the Incas. So we'll board the Vista train in Ollantaytambo, and we'll take it early in the morning, and you'll basically see the landscape changing from high plateaus, the river canyons, and then up to these spectacular slopes of the Vilcabamba Mountains. Now, here you can see the dome gives you the perspective from the top of the carriage, so you can see everything, and then out from the front. So a very comfortable way to actually arrive. And then once you get into Agua Caliente, you can see here this map. I actually realize this map is slightly, the arrows are going wrong, but it gives you an idea of this region that you're traveling to. And then we'll have a short bus ride up to the Machu Picchu region, and again, the lost city of the Incas. One of the great things about our itinerary is that we actually are staying at the Machu Picchu Sanctuary Lodge, which is a Belmont property. And you can just get a glimpse here out the window, but you're actually looking over to Machu Picchu. So it's a wonderful place to stay, to be close to everything. And the other nice thing is, of course, when everybody else leaves at the end of the day, and this is the only hotel that's situated up at the Citadel, you basically are privileged enough to enjoy the view of the ruins at sunset and after the crowds have gone, and enjoy the peacefulness of the area. And then the following morning, of course, you've got the advantage of being there before everyone shows up, so you'll have an exclusive serene time to enjoy the daybreak as the sun rays are starting to illuminate on the ruins. Now, that day, after we've had some morning time at Machu Picchu, we'll head back down the mountain, and we actually board in the afternoon the Hiram-Bingham train. Again, this is one of the Belmont Orient Express, previously Orient Express trains. And these are luxury rail cars that are in the style of the 1920s Pullman carriages. And so, again, a different rail experience on the way from Agua Calientes to Cusco. And on board, you're going to savor a 4-course Andean-inspired meal in the lavish dining room. So it's a nice way to sort of arrive later into the evening into Cusco. And again, just for perspective on the map. And once you arrive in Cusco, and this happens to be the Plaza des Armes right in the center of Cusco, nearby is your beautiful hotel, and this is the Hotel Monasterio. And this was built in 1595 on the site of an ancient Incan palace, and then was also a seminary, a San Antonio Abad seminary. So this has all the comforts, luxury hotel. It's a Bellman property again. It's a 5-star property, and it's like a museum hotel. It has so many unique of Cusco's Inca and Spanish artifacts and traditions. And the next day, now you have a chance to actually tour Cusco. And Cusco actually means navel of the world in Quechua. And it was the capital of the Incan Empire. So there's many beautiful Incan buildings designed for religious, administrative, military, and domestic purposes. And then after the conquest, the Spanish actually built a new city on top of the old one. And that's why there's a lot of Spanish colonial monuments, and there's some of the richest and most luxurious in the Andes. And much of Cusco's architecture actually reflects this dramatic Spanish style known as Cusco Baroque. So this morning we'll visit Plaza des Armes, which I showed you earlier in one of the images, and then also the beautiful Cusco Cathedral, which is considered one of the finest Spanish colonial churches in the Americas. We'll also then go out to visit Sacsayhuaman. I can never say this properly, but Sacsayhuaman, I think I've got that right this time. And this is, again, a significant archaeological site in Peru. And this enormous construction, it was basically, they're platforms, and they're if you can see here the way the stones are done, there's 3 levels. There's various temples here, and the local guide is basically going to be able to provide you with the stories that really will make the Incan history here come alive among the ruins of these sites. But they are truly, truly impressive. And then in the afternoon, they'll have time back in Cusco to be at leisure. That evening, we actually do a private concert in the hotel's chapel with a private choir from Cusco. So it's really a sort of very special way to end our time there, and then we enjoy a farewell dinner. And then the following day, we go from Cusco and we fly back to Lima. And we basically leave around mid-morning, and we will arrive back again midday. And then you have the rest of the day. We have a day room basically back at the Miraflores Hotel. So you have time to relax and freshen up before the evening flight home. So that's a quick sort of snapshot of the here in Bingham. Very, very basic, traditional routing, but again, wonderful, wonderful experience, and very well priced for an all-inclusive luxury experience through that region. Now, another special, and this is for a specific date just for you that you're on the webinar today. So for every guest that you book now on this specific departure of the Hiram Bingham's Escorted Journey, you will receive a $100 gift card in addition to your commission. So that means for a couple, we're going to send you a $200 gift card. I'll follow up after the webinar so you know the information. I'll just want you to report to me that you've made the booking, and we'll make sure the gift cards are sent to you. So a nice way to put together some holiday money. So anyways, that's a special offer there. And I wanted to just talk quickly about the private journey so that you can understand the difference. So mythical Machu Picchu parallels exactly what I just showed you on the Escorted. There's only a couple of differences, and those are in the hotels. You have a choice in Lima of basically the Miraflores, or staying at the beautiful Arts Boutique Hotel B, which is relatively new but just a gorgeous, gorgeous property. You also, in the Urubamba Valley, have the choice of staying at Rio Sagrada, or you can stay at the beautiful Hotel Soliluna, which are these beautiful little casitas. And you also then, instead of, some people prefer not to be up at the sanctuary, they like to be in town, the bottom of Agua Calientes, and so then you can have a choice to stay at the beautiful Inca-Terra Machu Picchu Pueblo Hotel. So other than that, other than being privately guided and private car and driver, you still do the Hiram Bingham train, you still do the Vista Dome train, everything else is the same, and the inclusions are just less because it's just breakfast only. We also have a couple of other really great trips that are private journeys that you can extend. You can add on to anything that you do to Machu Picchu, or you can do it as your second visit, or if you haven't If you don't want to go to Machu Picchu, this could be your only trip to Peru, but I would say that this is usually a combination trip or a second visit trip, and that's the Peruvian Culinary Adventure and the Amazon Cruise. We worked with Aqua Expeditions to partner on this and doing a whole culinary experience in Lima and then combining this with the culinary experiences on the Aria. It's a wonderful trip, and again, if you've been selling Aqua Expeditions, we've wrapped it all together, combined it, and you get the advantages that when you're in Lima, you're enjoying a beautiful dinner from Chef Virgilio Martinez from the Centrala restaurant in Lima, and again, a wonderful chef's table dinner, and then you combine it with the cuisine on the Aqua. And then we also go to Lake Titicaca. And this itinerary is also a great one to look at because in addition, you're going to basically tour Arequipa first, which is the White City. You're going to have a chance to then explore the cathedrals and the monasteries in Arequipa. When you get to Lake Titicaca, you're going to have a chance to actually do, as you saw, the floating villages. You can go hiking, you can go biking, you can, of course, visit villages and learn about the culture. And also, you're going to stay at the Titicaca property, which is a gorgeous lodge in Lake Titicaca. And then also, we go to the Nazca Lines. So, as Noreen mentioned, these are ancient and Nazca Lines and they're very mystifying, trying to figure out how this was ever created. But on this program, you'll actually get to view the Nazca Lines. And then we also investigate the Palpa Lines, which are sediments for sort of figure-scraped hills. And these are actually considered to be even older than the Nazca Lines. And then afterwards, on the way back to Lima, you'll actually take a cruise to the Ballestas Islands where you can see ocean life, penguins, seals, and seabirds. So again, you can see these are short duration add-ons that you can add on to your escorted journey or to any other private journey. And this just gives you a couple of the images as well. And then a special offer from our friends at LAN, again exclusive through Travcoa. If you book your international air for your clients through us, the intra-tour air on any of the itineraries I've talked about, which is basically a great savings, is complimentary. If you happen to book international business class air with us, you're not only going to get the intra-tour airfare, but we're also going to provide a complimentary pre-night or post-night in Lima. So a nice savings. You just need to make the bookings before December 31st, and the client has to travel by September 30th. So going back to that February 27th departure, you can make a nice additional commission with your gift card, and on top of that, your clients are going to receive a great value as well. So think about combining those two for that departure. If you do groups, group 6 or more, and we've got some departures of the Hiram Bingham that you can actually take over that don't have anybody on it, and if you put a 12 guests on there, we'll close it out as your own exclusive. And then lastly, this is just 7 Continents Club. If anyone's traveled with us before, they can have a savings of 4% on the itinerary, up to 6% depending on when they travel. And here's our website. You can go and find all the departures there. We've also launched a Travel Agent Resource Center, so do create an account, log in. You can get all of our information and marketing support. And our team, our phone number, we're based in Los Angeles, easy to find us. And we have our custom journey planners there as well if you want to custom design a trip to Peru. Here's me again and Rob Fielding, our Director of Operations, Guest Services, and Inside Sales. Both of us have a passion for Peru, so we're here to support you in any way from the sales side of it. And lastly, I just want to remind, we've been around for 60 years. We're a trusted brand, and you can't buy trust. And so we hope we're going to have an opportunity to take your guests to Peru and experience this beautiful country. And again, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Kathy. So everyone, once again, thank you so much for today. Just wanted to open the floor for any questions that you may have at this time. If you could just type them into the question box. For those of you that have been requesting a copy of today's presentation, that will be provided. So we will provide that in our follow-up email today. Kathy, there's a question for you.
Yes.
We have Jenny asking if there are single supplements to the tours that you're offering.
Yes, there is. On the here in Bingham's Hidden Peru, the single supplement is $1,890. Now again, I always ask that if you have a single, drop me a note, because sometimes on some departures, even though if we haven't announced a special on single supplement, I can take a look at the booking status, and if I think we can extend a special offer depending on our loads, we can. So just, please do reach out to me and let me see how I can work with you and help you.
Kathy, speaking specifically to Puno and Lake Titicaca, what are some of the key attractions or things that you see on your itineraries?
Well, that particular itinerary, we start in Lima. We first go from Lima to Arequipa, and basically we are, touring the monastery and the churches that are there. And then when we go to Lake Titicaca, the whole focus really is around the communities. We visit Tequil and Uros, which are the two islands, and that's where we have a chance to engage with the clientele, or the guests, the people that live there. And then we also view, there's a Juanita Mummy that we actually see in Arequipa, and then we've got the hiking or biking time in Lake Titicaca. So a lot of it is around sort of that, having time to experience that, and plus the lodge itself is so gorgeous that, you'll also want to have some time to relax there.
Yeah, I would agree with that for that person that had the question. It's really your experiences in Puno is around the lake, and their experiences around the lake. We have time for maybe one or two more questions. In the meantime, Kathy, is there anything that you'd like to add or mention to the group that we might have missed as we presented?
I think because we didn't talk a lot about the northern part of Peru, and I just want to mention for those, because we don't have an itinerary there only because it is a very, it's a very unique place that's still coming up on the radar of awareness, but it is a destination that we do custom design itineraries to. And if you have someone that is fascinated with the culture, I absolutely highly recommend it. Some of the archaeological sites up there that I saw were some of the best I've ever seen anywhere. And generally what we'll do is, the accommodation up in that region of the country is not as developed. So we always caution and say it's not a Travcoa high-end accommodation, but it's always luxury of access. The fact is that, our guides are going to take you into places that, some of the sites are spectacular. And so we can also do a private plane program. We can do a charter with a private plane if you've got a small group, and we can fly them up there as well and do a couple of days and then bring them back to Lima and combine it with another part of the program.
Great. One question, and I can help answer part of this one, Kathy. There's a question regarding Nazca lines and the issue with the safety of the planes. Mm-hmm. I know, it had been a concern, a couple of years ago where there were flights that were operating without certification. We as the tourism board always recommend that you ensure that your provider that you're going through, obviously if you're going through Travcoa, you have a certified partner that's flying those Nazca flights. So definitely go through a North American tour operator, get that booked to ensure that you have a certified provider for that Nazca flight. Kathy, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I will add. That's a really important point. One thing that a lot of people don't know about Travcoa is that we're actually, our parent company is one of the largest travel companies in the world, TUI, out of the UK. And one of the things is that we are not allowed as a company to actually book flights unless the company is on our approved fly list. And to become on an approved fly list, that company must have provided certification that they meet all of these standards. They're EU standards, and so it's pretty strict. So we're not allowed to do that. For example, just as a hypothetical, we are not allowed as our company to sell any trips in Zambia and Africa with their registered carriers because they're not approved. So again, we actually can remove a country from our destination portfolio because of that. So in Peru, we're very lucky our partners are all approved, and again, the partners that we choose to do the NASCA lines with are approved.
Great. There's a question here about requiring vaccinations for the Amazon and, concern with mosquitoes. Just traditional insect repellent is sufficient. Vaccinations are not required. Though if you want to be safe, consult your medical practitioner and let them know that you're heading into an Amazon region. Again, when I've been there, insect repellent is sufficient for me. Kathy, there's a question about the dine-around package.
Yeah.
It says, dine-around, will that always be out of pocket and then get reimbursed? Are there any meal options that are included, not requiring the client to pay for themselves?
Yes, absolutely. Now, the one thing that's important for people to understand is that on Travcoa, everything is all-inclusive. So all meals are included. So if they prefer to eat in the hotel, they can eat anywhere in the hotel. They can order room service whenever they want. That's not out of pocket at all. And they order whatever they want. They sign the bill to the room. It's taken care of. When we're out for the day, and if it's an included lunch, it's still, as much as possible, we do a la carte, and the travel director is taking care of that. The only time they're out of pocket on their own is when they're not with a travel director. If they're off on their own and they choose a restaurant of their choice, that's when they're required to pay, and then we'll reimburse them for it. So if they did choose to go out every single night away from the group, then that, of course, they would be out of pocket. But that does not happen in the itinerary, especially because when you look at some of the places like Sanctuary Lodge, they can't change. On the Hiram-Bingham train, dinner is included. You've got really, on this particular program, you've got a couple of nights because you have one night in Lima, your first night that you're free to do whatever you want to do. The following night, there is a welcome cocktail, and then there's dinner. That's sort of a welcome dinner. If they choose that they didn't want to do the dinner as a group, they could go out. Once you're in Rio Sagrada, actually in the Sacred Valley, it's kind of difficult to leave and go somewhere else. You could if you wanted to, but generally most people will stay at the hotel. So the dining options really tend to be more skewed towards the cities, so Lima and Cusco.
Great. Well, I think that's going to wrap up all the questions. I don't see any new ones. There were a few that we couldn't get to that require a little bit more detail that we'll follow up with those people directly to answer. But thank you all for being on today's webinar. We will be following up directly with you all, and we appreciate your time, and we look forward to having you and your clients in Peru.
Great. And thank you, everyone, and happy selling, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Kathy. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.